biographically, you were 1944 class of Jamestown High School. Your class president was Charlie Goodell.
Right.
And it was actually Charlie who was an inspiration coming back in 1974, 75 that actually introduced you to Chautauqua.
That's right.
How did that work?
Well, before 1974, every summer I would read the Chautauqua program, and I would comment it on the radio. You know, I would just read about who's going to be there, what to look forward to. And when that program of that year came out, I looked at it, and I suddenly saw Charlie Goodell is going to be the lecturer for a subject titled, you know, the abuse of government power. As you know, he replaced Bobby Kennedy as senator, and then Richard Nixon did not want him to run on his ticket. He did not want Charlie as his senator from New York. He wanted James Buckley. So Charlie had to run as an independent and didn't win. And Richard Nixon did not like Charlie because he was one of the first voices against the Vietnam War. So I said to myself, I've got to go to Chautauqua. Charlie will give me an interview. My class president, we even played ball against each other. And I felt confident that I would get an interview. So I quickly jumped in the car, drove up to Chautauqua, and asked permission. And I just said, may I do my show? And it gave him the following story. And I said I would just look forward to the local audience hearing their former senator and congressman. I think it's our duty as a public service to do that. And they said, where are you going to broadcast from? And I said, well, I'm only 127 pounds. I don't take up much room. So I said, how about the patio at the refectory? I'll sit in the corner, you know. And they said, well, we don't see any problem with that. And so I quickly went back to the studio, and I went into Mr. Williams' office, our general, and I said, Carl, I'm going to Chautauqua when Charlie Goodell gives a talk. He says, you are? I said, yeah. I said, isn't it our job to do public service? Isn't it our job to bring on the local stories? And I said, let's do it. And he said, here's a salesman for you. You think anybody will buy it? I said, even if they don't buy it, we really are obligated to do it. You know, let's do it. So he said, okay, let's get the engineering taken care of. So they did. And I stayed that week, 1 week. And I had Charlie twice during the week as a guest. But in between, I had nobody else. But Winnie Llewellyn, a teacher at Maple Grove,
Right.
a very revered teacher, was hostess at the Wensley House, where the guests stay. You know, all the lecturers, some of the performers stay. And I said to Winnie, Winnie, can you talk any of them into coming on the radio? You know, maybe 10, 15 minutes? Can you persuade them? She did. She gave me Margaret Mead. She gave me Dr. Christian Bernard, who gave the first transplant in the world. What more could I ask? So the week was over, right? Monday morning, I go to work, and I'm called into the office. And they said to me, Jim, we've gotten what you call feedback from your show last week. A lot of feedback. You want to do it again? What a silly question, huh? So I said, I'll tell you what, Carl. if we're going to do it, we do it every week. Why should it be just 1 week? Every week, there's a different theme, a different subject, and you have a gold mine of possibilities. And they decided, okay, but you have to leave room for other shows. So we decided we'd do it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And then we'd leave Thursday and Friday open for special shows that they sold. And you know who bought a lot of those shows? Joe Caprino.
Not only is he the best interviewer by far, but he works at it. He is not flying by the seat of his pants. Jim is incredibly nimble, but it's based on just good old hard work research. So when you may listen to him from 9 to 12 at Chautauqua, if you sashay over to the James Prendergast Library in the afternoon, he's there reading the newspaper, current events, he's reading the books regarding the authors who he hopes to see the next day. So he works very, very hard so that he is well prepared, and that's why you're the mayor of Bester Plaza.
One of them was Freeman Dyson, the great physicist. I think he won the Nobel Prize for physics, Princeton University. That was one occasion where I felt I wasn't in his league, basically. I tiptoed through the tulips, you know what I mean? Trying to be as conversant as I could. But basically, Greg, I had a good time with him. I really did. Yeah. I wouldn't call it one ideal, but he seemed pleased at the conversation. But even a couple of people realized I didn't get too scientific, you know, and yet that's a subject I love to talk about. And we were talking about longevity. What is happening? I particularly posed the question about longevity because I said, Mr. Dyson, he's pretty much up there in age. And I said, we're living longer. And I said, what do you project as a possible age that we could attain? And he said, the way it's going right now, 100 will not be a surprise anymore. 100 years, it'll become common, normal. He said, the possibility, I think, is 120. Well, it so happens that I had a fellow who had coffee with me every morning. His name was Mark, his first name. And he was 80-some years old. He would come and sit with me, anticipating my guest. And so Mark was sitting right there as I was interviewing Freeman Dyson. And when he said 120, I turned to Mark. I said, Mark, how would you like that? 120. You know what he said? Are you kidding? I'd be married to the same woman for 95 years.
And also Loretta LaRoche.
Oh God. Oh man. You can't get enough of Loretta LaRoche. You can't. Don't sweat the small stuff. You all relate to it. You all relate to it. She tells you, you know, and I related to it easily. She would tell you about her family and say that, here my mother bought a new sofa, but we can't sit on it. Right? Oh yeah, you got to leave it for the guests. Or she bought new dishes and never used them. Right? Those kind of things.
Right, Cindy? Where is she?
It was amazing. The thing that pleases me most is when I've had the guests for the first time. If they come back 2 or 3 years later, or even then, I'm pleased that they want to be interviewed again. They come to be interviewed again.